Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Lost and Found No More Secrets with DNAngels. We're a nonprofit search angel organization dedicated to the assistance of individuals seeking to identify their biological parents using DNA interpretation, mapping, and extensive research. For clients struggling with news of a non-paternal event, NPE, or also referred to as a not parent expected, donor conception, or adoption, we offer support and fellowship in our private online group. Services to help identify birth parents come at no cost to you. Other relatives may require a fee. My name is David Vargas, and today I'm joined by Jennifer as my co-host. So we have a really fun story today. So I know I was able to read through her client room and get an idea. Jennifer, I think that this is going to be new to you. So hopefully it's, I think you'll kind of resonate with this particular story because I know a little bit about your story as well. So I think you'll hear some things that are sort of the same as, a lot of the stories we hear are very similar. So it's kind of interesting, just the commonality we hear.
Yes, there is usually a common thread. And, if you're an NPE meeting another NPE, there's just that understanding of, I got it. And that's all because of that common thread. And it's nice to know that we're not alone in that.
That's absolutely true. So we're going to go ahead and bring Mary onto our show. So welcome, Mary.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Hi, thank you so for much having me here. This is so exciting, and I really appreciate everything that DNAngels does.
Well, we're glad to have you here, very much so. So, Mary, I'm going to actually ask you to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your story, your background, how you came to us is really what the question is.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm 77 years old, and my whole life, I knew who my parents were. Yeah, right. I thought I knew who my parents were. I did not have the greatest childhood. I was born a twin, and he died at 2 days old. So my whole life, I grew up as an only child. As an only child, I did wonder about a few things. My mother and I would go places on our own. My father never went with us. I did not know when their anniversary was. I did not know when they were married. My mother and I once in a while would go visit one cousin in the country, close to where she grew up. But that was the only cousin that we really ever visited. And that was just a couple times. And there were just a few questions like that I had. When I'm going to say I was already married. My mother had a cousin, and her son, Ed, would bring her over to visit my mother, and they had a lot of fun talking. I saw Ed maybe just a couple times, and then I didn't see him for about 20 years. I always liked genealogy, and he did genealogy. He would ask my mother all these family questions and stuff, and I was always kind of jealous that he got to do genealogy, and I didn't have time. I started a very small tree on Ancestry, and he had seen it, and he saw that both my mother and my husband had passed away in 2014, and he contacted me through Ancestry. And so we got together and started talking, and we started doing genealogy. He taught me how to do it. And him and I have been doing genealogy together for 11 years. And if it wasn't for Ed, I never would have found out that I had 2 half sisters. So that's why I'm talking about him in this story. And like I said, my mother and I usually did our things on our own. And also, she had a picture in her photographs of this one man. And I asked her a couple of times who he was. And she would never tell me. She always said that he was someone she used to know. I think it was my father. While Ed and I were doing our genealogy, we were looking for our ancestors, and we were having trouble with the ones that came from Germany. We had found them, got a lot of information, but there were just a few little things we were looking for. So we decided to take a DNA test through MyHeritage. because they did so much with European ancestors. Well, Ed came back as my second match. There was one person ahead of him. I had no idea who that person was. And her initials were ER. Farming community. Okay. And so I thought, okay, she's got to be some of my mother's relatives, but no, I couldn't figure it out. We were very confused. Then in July of last year, Ed suggested that maybe we will have more information if we go with an ancestry DNA test. And so he bought both of us an ancestry DNA test. And we got the answers back. I was very excited, but Ed wasn't number 2 anymore. Now he was number 10. I had 9 people ahead of me that I had more DNA with than him, and I didn't recognize any of their names. So I was kind of confused, and I thought, oh, it's got to be endogamy. It can't be anything else. So I did get in contact with one of the ladies through Ancestry that said, and Janet got back with me, and she said Robin, who was the first one on the list and Ancestry said was my sister. We were talking through several emails for maybe a month or so, and she sent me a picture after she found out they said Robin was my half sister, of her sister named Kathy. She said Kathy and I look very, very much alike. And so I still didn't get it. I guess I'm kind of dumb on this kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, I have no idea what's going on. I showed the picture to my daughter, Melody, and she thought it was me. In younger days. And I didn't get it. I put Ancestry away, decided it was time to go back and look for these ancestors that I couldn't find on my father's side. And I had a lot of his ancestry back, way back, even into the 16 and 1700s. And finally, I thought, okay, over the winter, I decided to watch all the DNA videos I could find on YouTube. And I found a lot of them. And I thought maybe it was because I just didn't understand what was going on with DNA. And that's actually when I found out about you guys, too. I saw a couple of your videos, but nothing clicked yet. In April, I said, okay, I got to get Ancestry back out. And I went through the first 80 matches. Of those 80 matches, only 13 of them matched Ed and I on my mother's side of the family. There wasn't one of them that matched my dad's side of the family. And like I said, I had done so much ancestry with him, I should be able to pick out a few people. But they all seemed to match each other somehow. So I started doing some of their trees and figuring out, okay. And then I said, okay, maybe Ancestry's trying to tell me something and I better listen to what they're saying. So I did my mother's timeline. And she graduated from high school right at the beginning of the Depression, 1929. She got married in 32. And then in 34, she was divorced. I think from the searching I have done that they were actually starving, and they decided it would be better to go their own way. I think he went into the army. It might have been a little later that he did. I don't know. My mother went back to live on the farm with her parents. She had one half sister that was older than her. She lived in a big town in Michigan, and she was raising her own family. There were no other sisters or brothers living at home except my mother. Her parents had a large farm. It was 120 acres at that time. And in 1942, her dad died of cancer. And so she's on the farm with her mother. In 1945, 46, during that time, her mother had a massive stroke and could no longer be on the farm. So my mother is living on this big farm all by herself, trying to take care of it and can't do it. They live in a small farming community, and, you know, everybody around knows everybody. And I think probably several of the farmers came over to help. And I think that's probably what Wayne did. He was living with his parents still at their home. And I have no idea what happened. I don't know, but mom left the farm and she went away. She told me she was picking fruit in Michigan because the only job she knew how to do was actually farm and she couldn't do it. But there's a few things that went on. Doing genealogy, I found out that her and my father were married in Kentucky. And 2.5 months later, I was born in Michigan. And I always wondered in the last 11 years, why did it take them so long to get married? Well, now I know. My mother was looking for a husband that didn't care that she was pregnant with twins. And she's this little lady, 5'2", with twins. So she was quite big at that time. And my father wanted a place to live. He wanted someone to take care of him because he was an alcoholic. And so they made a perfect match. She was able to come back home. She now had a husband, so she could give birth to me and my brother, and everything would look perfectly normal. But there was a slight problem. I think she realized a few years later that I looked an awful lot like my dad. I did find his high school graduation picture. I went to the high school that he had gone to, or to the museum in that town, and they had the high school yearbooks, and I was able to find his yearbook. That was just since April that I've done that. We look an awful lot alike. So if mom would have stayed on the farm, everybody would have known who the dad was.
Mm-hmm.
So she ended up moving to a closer to town, she told me, because where she worked. Well, that was only 30 miles away, and she already had a whole farm, free and clear. Why did she buy a house when she was only doing $1 an hour? And then as time went on, I found out, I thought, okay, I'm pretty sure. I found out that Robin's father was Wayne. He had 2 sisters and a brother. The brother was way too young to be my father. But I didn't trust my answer. This was in April when I found that out. And I remembered watching your videos, and I said, maybe they'll help me. So on Mother's Day, May 11th, I found out that, yes, they would take me on as a client. And then on June 2nd, they gave me the answer. Wayne was definitely my father, and I had 2 half sisters.
So I want to kind of pause you here just to ask a quick question, because as I was reading through your information last night, you had done a lot of work as far as the research that was necessary to sort of track those matches, yes, and put them together and sort of put those puzzle pieces together. What in there was confusing to you that you were trying to get that verification for?
I didn't trust myself. I thought, there could be a different answer that I don't know what it is. I think it's right, but I don't trust myself enough to call someone up and say, hey, I'm your sister.
I can understand that. Sure.
Answer.
Right. Especially if you always thought this man was your father. It's very disorienting, right?
Yes.
So you're going to bring somebody else in to look at the information and confirm for you.
Yes.
What you suspect, but don't want to suspect. And
yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it took me from July until April to even start thinking that this was possible. Mm-hmm. Even though Janet had sent me a picture of Kathy, and we look very much alike, very much. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted an answer. I thought, well, I'm like 95, 98% sure that this is true, but I want someone else that knows what they're doing to say I'm right or I'm wrong before I go and do anything. So I got in touch with Janet, the cousin that I had talked to before, to see if she still wanted to talk to me, because I hadn't texted her, emailed, messaged her through Ancestry since November. And she got right back with me. And I told her that I now knew that Robin and I were half sisters. We had the same father. This was after a couple texts. When I told her that, within 5 minutes, she gave me a phone call. And we talked for like 3 hours on the phone. Wonderful person. She gave me all kinds of pictures, all kinds of notes. She told me to call Sharon. And because Sharon is another cousin, and Sharon actually worked for my father and could give me more information. So when I hung up on the phone with Janet, I wasn't brave enough to call Sharon, but within 5 minutes, Sharon called me. And we had another wonderful 3-hour long. They were just so nice to me. I couldn't believe it. They were waiting for me, you might say.
Right.
And very friendly, very nice. And then when I got off the phone with them, Janet emailed me back again and said that her and Sharon decided that they would be the ones to tell Robin about me. So I didn't even have to do that. So on Saturday, and this was Thursday when we had been talking, Saturday morning, Sharon called Robin. And she also did it because she didn't live too far from Robin, maybe a couple hours or so, in case Robin didn't appreciate it. And they talked. And while Sharon and Robin are talking, of course, they're sending pictures back and forth of me. While Robin is talking to Sharon, she had a baby picture of me that she sent to Kathy and said, "This is our sister." That's all. That's how she found out about it. That was it. Kathy says, "What?" So when Sharon and Robin got off the phone, Robin and Kathy were talking. As soon as Robin got off the phone with Kathy, she called me, and we were on the phone again for probably 3 hours. But while we were on the phone, Kathy texted her sister and had looked me up on Facebook and found kind of an original, a picture that wasn't taken too long ago of me, and put a picture of Robin, myself, and Kathy together, and wanted to know if it was okay with Robin and me if she put it on Facebook. I hadn't even talked to her yet.
Right. But she claimed you already.
And
Yeah.
she put this picture on. They were so excited. And Kathy messaged me and said, "Can we talk at 11:30? This is on Sunday." I says, "Yes, I'll be home by then." I texted my daughter and told her. And so she came over. Kathy and I were talking. And then when my daughter came in, we got on some kind of video phone. I don't know which one it was. And I was looking at my daughter when she saw Kathy for the first time, and she had the funniest look on her face. And she told me later, she says, "Mom, it was like I was looking at you 10 years ago." That was just the coolest thing. And then later, she also said, and she texted them and told them that it's like she's got 3 mothers now.
I want to just say, Mary, really quickly, we're having a little bit of lag issues with your video. I want to let you know that, and our viewers, just so they're aware of that. There have been a couple of times where you've sort of paused in there.
Okay.
We're still getting your story, and it's beautiful, but I just wanted to let folks know what was going on. So just if you see that, when you see the final video come out, just realize that we've had just a couple little breaks in your story here.
Okay.
So I mean, clearly they're excited about this. Have you had a chance to meet with any of them face to face yet, or is this still just virtual meetings?
We're talking and texting every day. And in July, if all goes well, Robin is coming from Florida to Michigan. Sharon is coming from Florida to Michigan. She has a sister that has a cabin about 30 minutes from me. And so I should be able to meet a lot of people very soon. And I have also been invited to a cousin family reunion in March in Florida, which I plan on going to.
Can
And
I come?
yes,
I say that as a joke, of course, but I can't, like, how do you feel about knowing that these things are coming up? Is it surreal?
it's surreal, but I tell you, from April until the end of May or June 2nd, when I found out who my father was, I had a headache.
Oh, I believe you.
I went
Oh,
through, um, Laura had sent a digital book about this, and one of the things was the different 8 phases of grief you go through. I
yeah.
went through all of them, and now I'm just really excited. I don't think Wayne ever knew anything about me.
Mm,
Robin and also 2 of her sons I've also talked to, and they all said that if he would have known about me, he would have definitely been in my life,
mm,
which is, I think, is the sweetest thing.
yeah.
I look like him. A lot of me comes from him. I see a lot of similarities in both women. And Melody was surprised that we had only talked once. When she said, "You guys act like you've talked together forever." But it's like I know them. So the surreal part is getting over with.
Okay.
Now it's just pure excitement.
Oh, great. Great.
And I should see them for very soon. Wayne got married 5 years after I was born to his wife. They stayed married their whole life. He gave his children a wonderful upbringing, and just took care. He was very nice. I'm very proud to say that he's my father.
Oh,
Well, we're going to share the photo of the 3 of you side by
okay.
side. And I saw that last night when I was going through your room, and the resemblance is just uncanny. It truly is. So, yeah, it's amazing how much that happens. That genetic mirroring is so evident. So really, the ultimate question that I'm going to ask you here is, if you were to hear about somebody else who's in the same situation that you discovered yourself in, and you didn't really cover it, but your DNA test is really what told you that your father, who you thought was your father, wasn't. What would you tell that person? What advice would you have for them?
Actually, I wrote something down that I want to read to you.
Oh,
Okay. If someone asked me what to do, I would say go for it. It gave me so much peace to find out who my father was. I did go through all those stages, and for a while, I wondered who I was. I had no idea. I now understand myself better. You may have a wonderful ending like I have, or maybe not. I was not expecting a good ending. That is not a reflection of you, but it is their loss that they do not acknowledge you. You will have your peace knowing the answers, and they will enrich your life. You learn so much about yourself by knowing who you come from. And yes, go for it.
That's really profound. It's we're so much more than who we are. It's
Yeah.
who made us. That's really what makes us who we are. So thank you for sharing that. I didn't ask the question to start, so I'm going to ask you here. What's your favorite color, Mary?
I like all colors. I like bright colors.
Well, since you said all colors and you got your truth in June, I'm just going to ask folks to put a rainbow of hearts into the result, into their comment section here, just so that they can show their support for you. And honestly, this is such a lovely story. It really is.
really is.
I truly wish you all the joy in the world for you and your sisters as you get to meet each other. I'd love it if you could get video of the two of like all 3 of you just hugging each other, because I think that that's really going to be a beautiful moment. So share that with us when it happens, please. We'd love to have that follow up.
Okay, I definitely will. In fact, Robin told me to call her as soon as I get done with this.
Oh,
All right.
Mary.
Well, thank you so much, Mary. Your story has been very touching, and we appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much for what you do.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Oh, her story is amazing, and she delivered it so well. So
Really did.
yeah. Well, and I know that, like I said before, you also had an NPE story, so I'm sure that it resonated with you as well.
Yes, yes, and
Yeah.
I think that the fact that her siblings just claimed her, before they even had an opportunity to like really let it sink in, speaks volumes about who they are, and that Mary leaned into the unknown takes so much courage. I will say that the message at the end uh, really hit home because I think we see everything, as far as, after people have their answer, we've seen everything from these massive like family reunions where people come and kind of get like, they get to meet everybody all at once. And sometimes it's slower and drawn out. And sometimes it's this, I think we'll end things right now before anything even starts. So there's a wide range, but what she said is so true that you'll find comfort in having your answers, and anything beyond that you'll deal with as well. And that's the truth. And there's strength in the community, and we get through it no matter what it looks like. So her story is beautiful, and it's one that I think many of us dream of.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for joining me today. It's been a great time. And I want to thank all of our viewers for watching this episode of Lost and Found, No More Secrets with DNA Angels. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. If you or someone you love is searching for a biological parent, grandparent, or trying to break down a brick wall in your family tree, visit us at DNAngels.org. We're here to help you find answers. Parent searches are always free. Donations are appreciated, and other services may come with a fee. Visit our website to learn more. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.